Hello, my name is Tara Burns, student at Liberty University in Trauma 810, and today I will be discussing post-traumatic growth and intimate partner violence in women. According to the DSM, trauma is commonly defined as exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violation to which fear predominates. The DSM has now included trauma as a symptom as PTSD. Further, trauma is defined as a personal attack or threat, witness to death, physical harm, sexual violence, indirect exposure to a loved one's experience to trauma, or confronted with the consequences of trauma. According to Friedman, trauma was first introduced in the DSM as a catastrophic stressor that invokes symptoms of distress. Currently defined as a catastrophic event or multiple events in which the person is exposed to the following: personal attack or threat, witness to death, physical harm, sexual violence, indirect exposure to a loved one's experience and trauma, confronted with consequences of trauma. A quote from Shapiro's book, Entering the World of Trauma is like looking into a fractured glass. The familiar appears disjointed and disturbing. Trauma can result from accidents, war, natural disaster, sexual assault, or physical assault. Trauma and its effect on the whole self. Trauma affects the entire body and brain in various different ways. The impacts on the brain, or as the amygdala becomes hyperactive, which leads to panic anxiety. The hippocampus shrinks, contributing to intrusive memories, and the prefrontal cortex has impairment, which affects decision making. The impacts on the body are that it can create intense stress in the body and manifest as pain in the body, autoimmune disorders, headaches, gastrointestinal issues, depression, anxiety, loss of joy, hope, panic, and fear. There are three types of trauma: acute trauma, chronic trauma, and complex trauma. Acute trauma is a very short lived sympathetic response to a real perceived threat that results in a fight or flight response within the body and brain. It results from highly stressful or dangerous events triggering an immediate, intense emotional reaction. Chronic trauma results from repeated exposure to highly stressful events that is an ongoing and that causes lasting psychological and emotional changes. Examples of this can be domestic violence, ongoing abuse, or long-term stressful situations. And then complex trauma is repeated or multiple traumatic events, invasive or persistent abuse of neglect that has significant effect impacting the individual's life. An individual who is exposed to repetitive episodes of victimization or other traumatic events deals with complex trauma. The DSM diagnostic criteria for PTSD. In order for a person to be diagnosed with PTSD, they must have been exposed to a trauma and experienced symptoms for at least a month after exposure. Sometimes the event can last up a lifetime if left untreated. The individual who's experiencing PTSD will experience intrusive memories, flashbacks, avoiding events, reminders of that event, negative changes in their mood, heightened arousal, and difficulty sleeping. According to Friedman, characteristics of PTSD are involuntary and intrusive distressing memories, traumatic nightmares, PTSD flashbacks, trauma-related stimulus evoked in physiological reactions, and trauma-related stimulus invoked in physiological distress. Risk factors for PTSD: pre-traumatic, gender, age, childhood adversity, education, childhood trauma, psychiatric disorders, genetics, and physical or sexual abuse. Intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence, also known as IPV, is a significant health issue that has profound impacts on the individual. IPV entails physical, sexual, and physiological aggression against a current or former romantic partner. Intimate partner violence is defined as behavior with an intimate relationship that causes physical, sexual, or physiological harm, including acts of physical aggression, sexual coercion, psychological abuse, and controlling behaviors. Long-term impacts of intimate partner violence are depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Sociodemographic factors for IPV: age, educational background, social background, community, limited access to resources, economic hardship, and housing instability. Age in IPV is a factor, particularly in younger ages during adolescence and emerging adult relationships. Also, significant age gaps between partners can be a risk factor for IPV. Education and socioeconomic background. Education level is a factor that is linked to socioeconomic status and risk for IPV. Lower levels of education is often linked with limited employment, also results lower income, more likelihood of poverty, increasing the risk of IPV. Limited education is a risk factor in IPV. Lower education levels often have less access to resources to help individuals leave abusive relationships, such as social services. Unemployment and economic disadvantage. Unemployment results in financial insecurity, leading to feelings of inadequacy, hopelessness, and those emotions can manifest as aggression or violence within intimate relationships. Housing instability is often a byproduct of economic hardship and other socioeconomic risks for domestic violence or IPV. Families in scenarios such as homelessness experience extreme stress and can lead to an increased domestic conflict. When there is lack of stable housing, it makes it difficult for victims to escape abusive relationships. Here are some more additional statistics. About 1 in 5 women and about 1 in 7 men experience having severe physical violence from intimate partner violence in their lifetime. About 1 in 5 women and 1 in 12 men experience contact, sexual violence, or intimate partner, and 10% of women and 2% of men have reported being stalked by an intimate partner. What might the abuser do during each phase? The tension is when argument starts. The crisis is when physical violence happens or sexual violence. And the honeymoon is confessing their love, promise to change, gifts, say they will get help. And then identifying domestic abuse, signs of victim, multiple trips to the emergency room, bruising, low self-esteem, always apologetic. Seeking help and leaving an abusive relationship is the most difficult part of an abusive relationship and ending it. Victims need understanding that the longer they stay in the relationship, the more violent the abuser will become. Post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth refers to the positive psychological change that is experienced because of overcoming adversity, challenging life events, and trauma. There are 5 stages of post-traumatic growth. 1 is the struggle, 2 is survival, 3 is reflection, 4 is rebuilding, and 5 is transformation. In struggle, they're experiencing pain around the trauma. In survival, they're focusing on the stability and coping day by day. On reflection, they're beginning to make meaning of what has happened. On rebuilding, they're taking small steps. And on transformation, they're noticing new perspective and strengths. Examples of post-traumatic growth: there's inner strength, there's deeper, more authentic connections, small moments feel intentional, new to possibilities, and offering more self-compassion. Biblical perspective. God will always be at the hands and feet of our trials. In times of hurt and pain, we can seek Him for guidance today and always. Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear of being dread of them, for it is the Lord God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. And then finally, Jeremiah 29:13. You will seek me and find me and seek me with all your heart. The final slides are the references. Thank you for joining this presentation.